Okay, now that the notebook is open, I'm just going to call this Psychsignal, and I'm going to call this the Tearsheet. Okay, so that I can post it for you to refer to later. Okay, the first thing is that we want to actually get the backtest result, but we do need the backtest code, which is these last few digits here. Okay, all right, so and let me just label this, and I call this Tearsheet, and run that. Should probably have run that. And the next thing is, after that's done, we're going to create the full Tearsheet. Okay, the full Tearsheet, this built-in API that Quantopian provides is called, this API is called Pyfolio. What it actually does is actually it really analyzes and basically it's kind of like an X-ray of your algo strategy. Much like your body when you go through a health checkup, this basically look at many so-called dimension of your algo and see how it performs under different scenarios. So now that that's loaded, we're going to create a full Tearsheet and just run it and see. This shouldn't take too long. So the normal information that it churns out will be the performance statistics, and then you have the so-called worst drawdown period. Okay, now it's out. Let me just walk through this. So here you're looking at the annual returns, 15%. The volatility is 7%. Sharp ratio is 2.05. So it's actually very, very attractive. The time series is also quite stable, 3% drawdown. Psychsignal is very high. The skew is basically 0. The leverage that it uses is around 2, and basically the beta and the alpha is very good. The beta is also very good as well. It's basically not really related to the market. The worst drawdown is 3.18%. At the current period of test, which is from October 15 until November 21st, and it's still going. And the other drawdown periods for 46 days for 1.94% between May 8th to May 19th. May 8th until July 10th. So that's how long it took before it fully recovered. And the what you can see here is that basically the backtest is the green one. That's the algo that we ran just now, overlaid against the S&P 500, and how it performed. And this is the volatility, cumulative returns, volatility matched to a benchmark. If the volatility of the so-called algo is matched, meaning they have the same risk, what happened to our returns? The returns would have been almost 25%, so it substantially outperformed the S&P 500. This is the cumulative returns on the log scale. This one doesn't have much in the word meaning. This is the returns on the daily basis. This is looking at the portfolio beta, generally around 0. Sharp ratio has been steady, around 2. It's actually slightly declining. That part is a little bit disconcerting, a bit concerning. And the exposure to the common factors being small caps, high growth, and also momentum, generally not much. It's all under 0.5 or minus 0.5, so that's okay. The drawdown period, the longest drawdown period was this period. We started having drawdown since late October and carry on so far. This is the deepest drawdown yet. So far for this algo. And other information you can get is the monthly returns, the annual returns, distribution of monthly returns, the actual return quantile on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And now you're looking at the stress period, the April 14th, the October 14th, and also under the new normal, and look at how it actually performed during that time. Generally, pretty good. Okay, the other thing that you want to look at is the so-called concentration exposure. The top long position maximum is 8%. That's okay. The short is a bit troubling. 25% is actually quite high, as is top 10 positions. It's also quite high. That's this one here. So it's just basically take this figure but turn it into absolute. So these are quite large, so you might want to actually consider widening or loosening your so-called requirements. Just now I said 2.5 and also minus 2.5. You might want to actually include more stocks or create a bigger universe, because 25% is not acceptable. It's just far too high. So the exposure long and short is both 1. Portfolio or location over 1, top 10 holdings. Yeah, this is the part that is actually quite troubling. It's way too high there. Generally it's not too bad. It's just that one period, so we do need to somehow manage that. Gross leverage is generally okay, around 2, and there's a spike to 2.1, so which is not too bad. Daily trading volume, number of shares traded is that. I can't see any figures here. And the daily turnover, distribution of daily turnover is about that, so it's just actually quite high. It's almost, you turn over almost 2 times daily. And finally, the distribution of the transaction, we trade about 1 hour after the market open, which is roughly there. Some of them take up to 3.5 hours to execute. So yeah, that's the reason why we actually chose liquid stocks. Well, I hope that has been useful. Just really is a workflow, how you actually test from looking at the distribution, looking at the underlying data, to actually understand how the actual data interact with the signal interact with the data itself, to creating a pipeline, to testing it using alpha lens and running the backtest, and finally running a Pyfolio. So I'm going to stop here and look forward to talking to you in the next video.